But I believe that the amount of money you have earned is based off the amount of people you have served. And if you only earned $100,000, you only earned $100,000 worth of individuals.
Got questions, we bring the facts. From proven pros who walk the tracks. Business life, no smoke, just flames. Ask the experts, David Williams brings the game.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Ask the Experts. Today is Thursday, October 30th. It's Halloween Eve, and I'm going to be your host today, Andy Arter. And today's guest is one of the most powerful stories you'll ever hear in the insurance industry. Shenna Michelle, who you can see here with me today, is a mom of four incredible children, ages 6, 19, 21, and 22. And her journey is nothing short of inspiring. And I'm not just using that as like, this is not a filler intro. I think you guys are going to be blown away. At one point, she was homeless with 3 kids, but through faith, resilience, and relentless drive, she found her way into the insurance business and completely changed her life. From 2015 to 2023, Shenna owned one of the largest telesales agencies with Lincoln Heritage, producing over $300,000 per month in premium across just 3 states. She quickly became one of the company's top income earners, bringing in over $500,000 a year before moving on to her next chapter. From 2023 to 2025, she served as senior partner and top 10 agency leader at Senior Life Insurance Company that I know a lot of you are familiar with, where she made history as the fastest woman ever to deposit $1 million in company income, all within 2 years as a captive agent. Her mentees, mostly women, now earn anywhere between $50,000 to $500,000, $500,000 a year. And she was recognized as the #1 recruiter in her agency. Now in 2025 and soon to be 2026, Shenna, I know you've gone independent as the founder of Pretty, Powerful, and Paid Incorporated in partnership with the David Price Agency, an organization that helps women evolve in their careers, faith, beauty, and lifestyle to become the women that God created them to be. I love that. She's also the chairman of Women of Facebook Insurance Group and the president of the Mississippi chapter of Forward, a faith-based community to career women in business. So today we're going to unpack her journey from rock bottom and homeless to 7 figures and talk about what it really takes to recruit, build, and develop teams that grow in both business and in faith. So let's welcome Shenna Michelle to the show. Hey, Shenna, how are you today?
Hi, Andy. How are you?
Doing real well. I'm pumped. I got myself pumped up to have you on here, and I'm really, really grateful and happy
Yeah.
Thursday.
Well, I'm super excited, and I definitely appreciate you having me.
Yeah, thrilled to have you here. And I was blown away by your story. The more I read about it and starting to understand who you are, it's nothing short of incredible. In fact, the first time I met you, I said, "How you doing today?" You said, "I'm doing incredible." And it was like, "Oh, okay. I love this. Let's talk." But can you kind of take us back to, the moment when you were maybe going through the, before the comeback, right? Maybe the lower moments, the moments when there was maybe uncertainty, less direction, and just take us back to like when things started to turn around for you and like what you were going through at that time.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you how I even got into the insurance game. Now, I will say I am what you call a situational introvert. Okay. I do not only talk in situations, people gives me anxiety. Okay. And so I was a medical biller from, long time ago. And the check is just a check. And I was a single parent at the time. I just recently had got divorced and with these kids, and it was just awful. Working regular 9 to 5, working 7 days a week. And I had a situation that came up and I needed like $500. And unfortunately, because I didn't get that at that particular time when I needed it, my ex-husband actually kidnapped our daughter and took her out to state. And I had no idea where she was at for almost 6 months.
Wow.
And so right then I asked God for a sign. And I like, please show me the way. I eventually found her. She was actually dropped off in an abandoned building by herself. No baby bag or anything like that. And so I asked God to fix this whole situation, because how I work seven days a week and still broke. And he showed me this insurance thing. I'm like, I don't like to do insurance. I got kicked out of Mary Kay the first day I went. So me and sales is not having it. And sometimes we ask guys for these signs, and he finally give us a sign, but he tell us to go right, but unfortunately we go left
Mm,
and wonder why we're in these situations. So I finally surrendered and did what he told me to do.
mm.
Now, prior to that, obviously that got me in a situation, homeless, with these kids. And you know it's tough, right? And so it doesn't matter how hard you work. It's not always just about hard work. It's about understanding the end in mind. So I finally got into this insurance, and I just kept going and didn't look back.
That's beautiful. And we talk about faith all the time on this show. And I love that you said surrender to God. Like I want to go left. He said go right. And I just surrendered. And it's not like all your problems like went away overnight, but I love that you like had made that decision. And what do you think it was about the insurance industry that like gave you hope at that time when everything else was kind of just, in chaos, essentially?
Well, I remember somebody telling my mentor at the time, it just said, Sheena, be here a year from now and you'll make six figures, right? And so that was it. Now, obviously, it doesn't always go that way, but I understood once I got it, right? And I always think I already know who I am and whose I am. So even though I wasn't earning six figures, I became that person in my head. And so I do believe that God put me in a position, and once He put me in a position, my purpose was to help other women along the way. And although I've mentored men, I just know that women, I want to be the example that even though you can be divorced or married, single, a single mother, um, a hard worker, that there's still life at the end of the tunnel. And I know that a lot of women resonate of what I've went through, and just to keep going. And so that was my thing, to just be here a year from now so these women can see the example. And I just kept going. And obviously things happen, a lot happens in the insurance industry, especially for women. But I want to be the voice. I want to be the voice, someone that can not always just say yes to whatever. And I just want to be that person.
Wow. I love that. And I sat with a multimillionaire when I was like 26, 27, and he's like, what are your goals? And I was working within this big company. And I remember kind of laying out, like, I'd like to make this amount of money and I'd like to take that money and go do this with it. And I laid out my vision for my future. And he's like, well, you keep thinking that you need to get the $1 million to become the millionaire. He's like, I need you to become the millionaire now, like in your mind and the way you operate and what time you wake up and how you research and the way you communicate. And like, you need to build the habits now of the person who earns the $1 million, and then the $1 million will show up. He's like, everybody does it opposite. He's like, but you got to
Absolutely.
become that person. So it really resonates with me when you're like, I became that person in my head. And like, I started to like build like probably mental fortitude and operating structure that like aligned with those goals. And then being a mom to multiple kiddos, I have one, right? And I know how much responsibility that is, but how did being a mom to four kids shape like your drive and the way that you approach leadership today?
Oh my goodness. So I'll be honest with you, right? I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. So with the first three, it was so difficult. I mean, like it was difficult. It was a sacrifice. And at times I used to have like mom guilt about working so hard and missing these things, and like somewhat sacrificing like their time with me and my time with them. But I created the vision for them. Like, look, it's not always gonna be like this. We're not always gonna be broke. We're not always gonna be eating, pork beans and and hot dogs, and so it drove me, right. But the reality is, and I think what people realize is that sometimes we do fall in a funk, and so then I got this somewhat success, and it wasn't for the kids anymore. So I had to come up with something else. And it got boring, it got bad, it got like routine, and it's like it wasn't fun. um but it was all, what was hard though, I had to had some of my team members, to I put them on the kids, the pickup list, because if I'll go out the, because I was a field agent at first. And but I had, I did have somewhat help. But up until 2018, because again, it was I earned the money, I thought I was earning six figures, not a lot, but six, right at six figures. And 2018, when I found out I was pregnant with my baby girl, and now mind you, there is what almost like a 14, 15 year difference, and I'm like, what in the world? But she was the reason why I then was able to build this virtual call center, and show me the light that what I do is not necessarily about me anymore. It doesn't matter if I'm not feeling well. It doesn't matter if it's boring to me. She was able to, my Kindle Rain gave me purpose, that remember why you started. Why you started was to help other women, and you're about to go into a whole new situation that was not planned, but this is a whole new situation that's not about you anymore. Now it's about other women, and that right there changed everything for me. That became again my purpose, not my passion, but my purpose. And once I start to follow my purpose, I became very passionate about it.
Wow. That's honestly beautiful. And that shift from like, maybe I'm going through a season of like boredom, pain, struggle, whatever, but then like attaching a purpose that's not just money for money's sake, but it's like serving and leading and showing other women in the space like what's possible for them. And then like spreading that and aligning with your kiddos to like build a life for them that's different. I love the pork beans. I'm like, I get it. I remember a lot of canned food months and years we went through, and can definitely, I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to that.
Yeah.
And then when you got into this space, like you start getting all of these skills and things. And I know that one of the key areas is like, in order to mentor the right women and in order to like build that legacy, you've also got to be really good at recruiting, because if you don't know how to attract the right people into the business or retain the right people or onboard them, you're not going to have people to serve and help. So I know you said you were the number one recruiter in your agency. Like what's your secret to attracting great talent? And what did you learn those early years recruiting?
Well, I believe that you can recruit as many people as you can, but you tend to attract who you are. And that kind of shifted for me a while. It did, and I'm still going through that phase. And I hate to, and I'm a political, a non-political correct type of person. I just kind of say it how it is. But I want to be the representation of women of color, and so I did it. I tried to attract those women, because a lot of women that looks like me, a lot of people don't have our back, and so that was my mission: one, to help women of color, but also just to help women in general. But what I have learned to how to recruit is that I watch what other people do, and I do the complete opposite. I do the complete opposite. I believe in studying your craft the same way we're taught to study your script. And I realized sales is the exact same thing. So I learned how to become a better storyteller. I learned how to become a better performer, and I learned how to be a better communicator, but also learn how to dig deep and find people where they are, which is literally in the pit. And usually when people are in the pit in their darkest moment, that's when where they're feeling the pain. That's when you're able to then bring them out of it. But you got to find those people that need someone to hold them up, need someone to pull them up, need someone to give them the opportunity. So I tied all those things with performing and learning different advertisement, and then just watch, like literally, like social media has been a blessing to me, but I just watch what people are looking for and what they're saying on social media. And then I also watch other recruiters, how they recruit. And again, I just did the complete opposite. I was like, this is the same stuff we see over and over and over again, but we're not understanding people and what they're needing. They're not looking for like necessarily a job. They're looking to save their life. And it's just a finding a way to present that to them for them to come to you. So I'm not going to them. I found a way where they are coming to me.
Wow. That's beautiful. I wrote down finding people in their pit, and then I wrote down creates grit. And like when I look at that formula, right, there's when you talk about opposites, I talk to a lot of agencies. We help recruit for a lot of agencies, and you see a lot of them try to find the people that are already on the mountaintop. You know, they've come out of the cave and they're like, I just want this polished, set it and forget it human.
Mm-hmm.
But then like this whole opposite idea too, not just in the way you recruit, but who you recruit is like, no, I want to find somebody who's willing to like go through those tough moments and like dig out because they're already at rock bottom, but they
Mm-hmm.
believe enough in themselves and, you know, they're willing to like transform themselves if they're given the right mentor and given the right
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. So that's beautiful. And like that I can see where you've had so much success probably drives people with such a big heart and work ethic and alignment with you. And they're just willing to do that extra mile that others aren't willing to do because they're in that life position. But even with that said, I'm sure you've had to kind of filter through and figure out who's authentic and like who's just telling me what I want to hear. So I'm really curious for you, like with all the people you've worked with, how do you kind of personally identify whether somebody actually has like the heart and the hunger to make it in this business? What are some telltale signs early in those conversations for you?
Well, I don't always watch what people say. I watch what they do. I know people can say all these things to make things look pretty, but
Mm,
I just watch what they do, which is our simple things. And one of the simple things is just to show up and to ask questions. Like showing up is so important, but to do the simple things. And if you can do the simple thing, then obviously you'll be able to handle the other things. But I look for people who just to show up, you, not to, and then tell me why they want to do this. Like tell me why. Like, oh, I want to earn this, but why? And then I find out what their real reason is. And it's so funny. I remember I hear it all the time. Oh, I want to do this for my kids. Well, that's a load of crap. We say that, but do we really truly mean that? And
mm,
until you finally
wow.
get yourself in a situation. So it's just those things like, but why? Because if we really want to do things for our kids, we probably wouldn't be in a situation that we're in. So I
Wow.
just I look at what reasons, the real reason why people want to have this opportunity. And it doesn't always happen on the first interview, right? It doesn't always happen on the second. I give people chances and they wean themselves out because I don't want to say this not for everybody. But being broke is not for everybody either. So and then I do get great joy from people who've had a past or who struggle with something because they tend to fight the most.
Mhm.
They tend to want it the most, and those are the ones who tend to outlast. And so the know-it-alls, that's the one I do not typically mentor, is the people who know it all. Because I remember somebody telling me, Sheena, how do you know so much but have so little? Right. So I just look for different things that these individuals want, and do
Mm.
my best to be able to provide that with support and the tools that they would need to get those things that they desire.
Wow, it's awesome to hear. And like when you talk about like watch what people do versus what they say, and then you talk about show up, like I forget who I heard it from years ago that said like 90% of success is just showing up. And you're right. Like you have somebody come into the business and they're a know-it-all and they're not coachable. Like your bucket's full. You think you know everything. So how can I even guide or steer you? And I think that's, a really unique type of person to find. But like you said, you've kind of built everything around like attracting the right people in and also
Hmm.
being like the walking manifestation of like the types of people that you want in your business. So I love that the litmus test is very tied to like somebody's like soul journey and like a lot deeper than just like financial targets or like career
Hmm.
goals. You're finding human beings that align with you as a person, and then you can build things together. But I know that like I'm going to say this with like a great deal of respect, right? When you look at like a dog, okay, that's been abused, beat up, underfed, whatever, and then you get them into a loving home, and then they still have those, those things that are ingrained from the trauma where they might snap at you, they might shut down and go lay in the corner, they might not greet you the same way. Like there's a rehab phase that they have to go through before they become like fully integrated to the family and like recovered. And not to downplay it at all, right? But when you take, let's say, somebody who's been through the hard knocks and like they're coming out of maybe an abusive relationship, or they're coming out of an abusive career relationship, right? Like owners that have taken advantage of them, or they haven't like paid them or whatever. And all these different things that they might have to deal with, probably far more than we might ever fully understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I've seen, because I've hired on a couple people and worked with people that have gone through it, or they're going through it right now. And there's a skill set to developing them and getting them to see their own potential. Because if you can see it in them, but like at some point they've got to go like, I'm empowered, like I see my potential. And I'm curious what your philosophy or approach is when it comes to like developing women who may not see their own potential yet, and how you sort of walk them through that as you build that relationship with them.
Absolutely. It's funny. I was just having this conversation with someone yesterday about the exact same thing. I believe I was chosen, right? When I mean by that chosen, I have had anything and everything that could happen in the insurance industry. I've had a team taken away from me. I've had my contract demoted. I've had been master manipulated. I've been terminated for no reason at all. All these things that could happen, and it's a crazy world in the insurance industry for women. And so because and then in personal life as well, I've had things that happen in my personal life. And so again, being the example, now the caveat to that is, because somebody had, and I would say somebody, because God had patience with me, I had to learn how to have patience with other people. Now, I'm not a counselor or anything like that. I do understand that when people have trauma and have these things that happen, I understand they're not the easiest to deal with, and that's completely fine. I totally get it, because I know hey, I'm not a pastor either. I'm not a pastor or anything like that. But I do believe that because he had a lot of patience with me, why would I not have a lot of patience with other people? Now, would they shy away from the business? That's fine. I'm not in the business to necessarily fix people, but provide an opportunity to show them the way, their bigger way. But everybody, I can't fix and help everybody. And I do understand that. And because I know that now, it does relieve the pressure of wanting to help individuals. But you're right. There are those who bark back. Well, Shenna, you barked back too at one point in your years. Like you did look, you did the same thing. Like, so like, let's pipe down just a little bit. But I did the same thing and have gone through the same things. And so I understand. But it comes with also personal development as well. So I know that I can't be at the same level as them, because they won't grow. They only will be at the same level as me. So I work on personal development a lot. One of the books I absolutely love is the 5 levels of leadership. And so understanding people, and I'm still in my journey of developing relationships with people, because I too, again, is evolving every single day. And so obviously it is a lot of hard work, but I had to think about, a lot of people don't want to deal with those type of people. And so what happens if nobody wants to deal with them? Then nobody deals with them. And that doesn't fix anything. So somebody got to tough it up and say, you know what? I'll be that one, right? Because I'm not doing it by myself. I know I'm not doing it by myself. So as long as I'm doing what I need to do as a person, and God to handle everybody, it's because it's a huge battle. It's not even my battle. I'm just the vessel. That's all I am.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for that. Seriously. And I can see too, when you talk about like faith getting you through, being able to live in a way in which, you are, it sounds like continually surrendering. You didn't just surrender once. Like, it sounds like you have a daily process of like walking into that faith and not doing the work, but just like giving it to God, knowing that he's going to align you with the right people, and vice versa. And wow. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. We might have to have you on a second time because I want to go deeper into the people side of it, but I also want to give some very practical um, areas that are going to help agencies move the needle forward. Or if people are on here and they want to join your team, like I also want
Mhm.
them to understand what they're walking into. So I want to go back a little bit to when you were running your Lincoln Heritage telesales agency. Like what systems were absolutely critical to scale to and past that $300,000 a month?
Simple, scalable, duplicatable systems. I'm very big about
Mm,
simplicity. I'm a very simple person. I'm very analytical, but I need simplicity. A system that has clarity and and one that you can scale. So here's the thing: when I became a field agent, that transferred over to a telesales agent with no assistance at all, because I chose to go to the field to the phone. It was unheard of and forbidden, so I was thrown out there to figure it out. And so obviously I watched Cody Atkins, who was my go-to, and David Duford. Those my go-to at the time, and just watch these things. But one, learning how to sell, and which is what we do every single day. So learning how to sell, and then having a sense of direction, where people are and where they can go based off of what they do. And also have a very simple onboarding. I think with licensed and seasonal agents, we throw agents out there and think that they're supposed to get it because we are looking at them where we are. And if we meet them at that very level, and that's how I was able to build my onboarding system. I pretend that I'm a brand new agent that have no idea how to do things. And how I got great at it is I do after action review after hiring someone after 30 days. And oh man, this is some good stuff. Is that I hired someone after 30 days and just asked them, okay, um, what have you learned so far, and then what could we do different? And even within the first week, what could we have done different, and be okay with the answer, like it or not. And then I
mm,
pay attention to what the agents are saying. As soon as they say something like, oh man, I don't know where this is at, then my brain goes off. Well, I don't want to have to continue to tell people. I need something duplicatable. So you want people to be system dependent and not people dependent. And so they know they could go to this right here, something simple, a click of a button. Everything they need is right there for them. But also having a tracker so that they're holding themselves accountable. And well, I can hold them accountable as well to make sure you do this and do this and do that. I realize that
mm,
people, like it or not, they need to be told what to do.
mhm,
And some
mhm.
people just
Agreed.
love to be told what to do. And so just those simple things has helped me. And but also not getting comfortable as well, like just not being comfortable. I believe that and this might seem crazy, but I believe that the amount of money you have earned is based off the amount of people you have served. And if you only earned $100,000, you only earned $100,000 worth of individual. Well, there's 8 billion people in the world. You're not saving and serving enough people. And so again, remember, this is not about you. It's about the people that you're supposed to be helping. And you are sometimes, or you are judged by the fruits of your labor. So if you don't if you're not earning the money, which is why I was able to transition from one company to the other, because I
Mm.
was earning the money. But it's no fun when I'm earning the money and you have people at the very bottom who are working and not earning it. So I had to find a way for everybody able to be able to help them to reach their potential.
Yeah, you don't want to be going out and buying a brand new Porsche and then you brush off an employee who is trying to figure out how to put gas in their tank this week, and you're just like, well, I'll figure it out, you know. So like really being in the trenches and being
Yeah.
invested in them. I love that
Yeah.
you talk about simplicity, scalability, clarity in the onboarding. Um, having those moments even early on with a roadmap and tracking and reviews. But my favorite part of what you said is that, like, in my paraphrasing, right? Like you're money, and the money you've earned is like directly proportional to the amount of people that you've served. And like
Mhm.
that can drive a completely different idea and conversation about what system am I going to build? How big do we want to go? How can we serve at a higher level? Which means that in the very DNA of what you're building, if it's built to serve people, it's also going to attract people to it and have value and not just be a money grab. So that's beautiful what you said. And can you walk us through like onboarding today within Pretty Powerful and Paid? Like, what does that look like? I know you said you do like a 7-day review or a 1-week review, a 30-day review. But if somebody were to come join your team next week, like what
Mhm.
does that onboarding process look like in their first couple months?
Absolutely. Well, we have a fast stack training module that I keep track of, and also that they have access 24 hours. Is learning the basic things about insurance. And I treat people as they have no idea about anything of insurance, and it applies to also seasonal agents as well. If people say they've been in insurance for 2 years or 3 years or 10 years and still haven't reached six figures. So there's a problem. So I have this onboarding system that shows them how to do application, basic information about insurance, why somebody would do whole life or term. Um, the like simple things as far as like, especially because now I'm a broker, different carriers. So I'm really, and mind you, I just became a broker just a few months. And again, so I'm learning as if I'm a brand new person, because my motto in the early years is to never go independent as a new agent. That was my thing. Now, and there was a reason why, because it was just too much information. And so, because I've learned how to do a one product, now I'm able to do multiple. But now I know how to do multiple with a brand new person. So I'm learning. I put like what type of what products are out there, understanding what each product provides, why you should go with one over the other. Other system was learning the phone system, all these things that we don't tend to think about, or we think about at that moment but don't implement it. Everything is there. So there's a process from the beginning up until like for the first week. You're just learning basic things. You're plugging into a virtual call center, you're showing up, you're still getting all these things, so you're not left by yourself. What I don't want is people just to be by themselves. So I have a system. They're showing up here, 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 and here. They have a time frame and something that they see, so they know where to go, so they're not lost. So we could do that for a week. We'll do a game plan interview with them to figure out exactly what they want and what's the goal to get there. Then I implement what they need, and then we get to earning what they desire to earn. So there's other little things that's in it, but that's usually within the first month of understanding what we do, how we do it, because you do have to have a solid foundation, and then we go into adding other things that comes along with it. So we'll learn more about selling and tracking and all these things, because again, they're like kindergartners until the point they become till they graduate high school. So it's a whole process for it.
No, that's great. And like anybody listening too, or if you're watching actually on our live stream or on YouTube, you can go up here to this QR code, and I'll have one at the end with a booking link in case you want to go and have a conversation with Shayna and talk through what it could look like to go and transition into her team and get a deeper dive on that. So at the end, I'm going to share out more information, but I love that you've got a roadmap for individuals and you get them into scheduled time to go and actually brush shoulders with and learn and not be left on some island, which I see happen far too often. So
Mhm.
that's incredible, and kind of brings me to like the main core topic that I really wanted to focus on with you, which is personal development and faith and empowerment, which you exude just in the way you carry yourself. And I know it's got to be a big part of your business. So I know you often talk about helping women become who God created them to be.
Mhm.
And I'm curious what that looks like in practice inside your agency.
Absolutely. So, we read a book a month about something we're dealing with personal development. We have a prayer call on Monday mornings. And so let's keep we do not force religion on anybody at all. We do not. However, we are big about faith, then family, and then work. Faith first, and then family, and then work, and finding time for all three. not balance, because I don't believe there's a such thing as balance. Because if you're balanced, everything's staying the same at the same level. And so,
Hmm.
but finding ways. And so, again, something that we work on about how uh, talk to ourselves. I was on a call this morning about being impeccable with your words, the four agreements. So, and not having judgment, right? I think having an understanding of who we are as women, and who we are as business, and also who I am as a leader, is that I'm not here to get you. I'm not here to get you. I've demoted my contracts and lost contracts so that I can be able to bring you to the light. And so and so you have to learn how to trust people. But all these things that we work on, again, personal development, because there's more. And then how you carry yourself as well. And then how you think. I believe how you see a thing is how you treat it, and how you treat it is what it's become. So how do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about your business? And how do you feel how do you feel about the business? And how do you feel about what's going on in your personal life? And then feed off, start off with that. What we do is not just insurance. So I don't do just insurance. That's just the vehicle. And again, it's about evolving women, and bringing these things that is not necessarily in like these insurance companies, like really digging deep into like this personal development, because this world is crazy, right? We living in some dark times right now. You got to learn how to deal with it with meditation and self-care. We're very big about self-care. I tell people, hey, we are not going to be working from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night. Like, you need to have some time to yourself, because I'm gonna take my time, right? I had a
Hmm.
mini stroke not too long ago because of certain situations. So learn how to take time out for yourself, loving you, so then you can be able to deal with other people, and then the money comes with it. But you want to be able to attract the money, and that comes from your mindset, and then who you are, and then how you feel about yourself.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, go everybody and replay that about 5 times in a row and write that down, because like she's laying out the framework for a completely different life, and an empowered life, and a life that's aligned in a lot of ways. That's absolutely incredible. And when you kind of look at yourself, right? Because one of the things you said is like, if I cap myself out, that's as good as anybody in my influence is going to get too. And so you talk about constantly working on yourself, which I love.
Hmm.
How do you, and I don't want to say balance, because I'm in agreement with you. You don't
Hmm.
have a job and then kids and then a family and then a car and like property. You have a life. Like, it's just a
Hmm.
life. Like, you have a full life. But how
Hmm.
do you, I would say, manage like being a fierce businesswoman, a leader, a mom, a
Hmm.
faith-driven person without like hitting a wall? Because it's a lot, right? Like, I'm just curious what practices, what habits, what mentors, what support systems that you've had, like that if I took them all away tomorrow, you're like, oh yeah, I would crash and burn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've hit a brick wall multiple times. That's just what it is. But
Hmm.
I also go back to, I'm very big about personal development. But not just that, is because if I'm just reading these things, and not and when I say personal development, I read a lot of books. But I think the problem is with people who read, they read to finish the book and not to understand the book. So I would actually study these books that I need, but also reach out to other mentors who may not be in my industry. So I also have a personal development coach. I also have a mentor that I pay, right? I believe when you don't pay, you don't pay attention. So they are at a different level than me, that also holds me accountable. So I have a coach as well, that so that I could become to reach their level, because otherwise I'm leaning on my own understanding,
Mm-hmm.
which means they're leaning on my understanding. So I learned how to just have these other people that's involved in my life, but also pay attention to myself and signs. Because again, like I said, I had a mini stroke. So those were things like, Shanna, you are you are pouring entire too much out, and you're not pouring these things back in. And so once I realized that, I reached out to other individuals who can help me along the way, but also making sure that I take time for myself. Because if I don't take care of me, I cannot be the person that I need to be, especially for my children, because they are my number one people that I have to take care of, and then I won't be able to help these other women along the way. So finding a great coach, finding a mentor, and getting inside these great books, not to just finish it, but to study it and then apply it, because you can't teach it unless you know it and then do it.
Mm-hmm. Wow, 100%. There's a whole game of like retaining information, living into it, and then being able to teach it. And I love that you kind of look at it as your arena almost of like, hey, if I can learn this well enough to where I can teach it to others and pass it on to them, I know that I've arrived. And then I'm going to go borrow the next idea and the next transformation, do that to myself, and then spread that to my team. This constant shoveling of like faith, leadership, guidance that's coming from the outside. And then you're like feeding that to your team, which is so valuable, because you're right. There's so many stagnant owners that are just, I know everything and this is the way it's done. Whereas it sounds like for you, you're always kind of stoking the fire and like looking at things from a different angle. And it's not like you're human too, and like you go through the same challenges and struggles, but like you'll walk through that and spread it to the team. And one of the things that I was just thinking about as you were talking too is, could you maybe give us a story of somebody that you saw come in that was like in a tough spot and is a completely transformed person now, and just like what their journey looked like? We've talked about you. I'd be really curious, somebody in your sphere that's come
Hmm.
through, joined your team, and like what life looked like before going into this habit and this sort of like way of life, and
Hmm.
what they look like now, a few years later, months, years, whatever it's, been.
Yeah. So I have two people in mind. One is someone who's recent, that I've been able to mentor. This young lady, Miss Jennifer Williams. She started with me a year ago and just wouldn't do much of anything. And I was like, what in the world? We're just sitting here. And to the point, I was like, hey, uh we're gonna have to cut this off, right? You're gonna have
Mm.
to get to work. Like what is it? But then when I finally transitioned, sometimes you got to move people out of a certain environment. And once I finally transitioned, she blossomed to not earning a dime in a whole year, like wrote a policy or two, to now, writing one or two policies a week. Does not seem big, right? But I know that she's not the same person. She talks different, she looks different. She's, teaching other mentees, and so she's definitely evolving. But I'm a huge family person, Andy. um Family is my soft spot. It is a good and bad part of me. I won't say bad, but it's our soft spot. And my sister, my baby sister, she was a bartender. I'm trying not to get emotional, Lord Jesus. She was a bartender a few years ago, and I hope I don't get in trouble saying it, but I've watched her um have, relationship with men who earned a lot of money. And I'm like, she's a very pretty girl, had degrees, and I'm like, look, this is not the way to go. You can have your own. And so I didn't like it. She was living in a trailer park, and I'm like, look, you are so much better than this. And she saw my 1099. This was a few years in the industry. She saw my 1099. And I told her, look, you'd be better than me. You really like people, like really, really like people. You would be great at this. I'm just I'm a mole, right? I'm like, you really, really like people. And so she, I've always wanted the best for my family. And so showing her the opportunity. She went from she's probably earning about 35,000 a year in the as a bartender, but I've watched her grow into this industry and take the bulls by its horns and have her own agency. I'll shout out to the Big Insurance. boat right agency. They're not. She's not with me. She is with another company, and it's perfectly fine. But I've seen her starting very slow in the industry. She was only earning like $1,000, $2,000 a month. But I helped her, and she's great at what she does. But I've watched her go from earning $2,000 a month and to now one of the highest paid women in the industry. So within 2 years, she actually earned over $750,000. And so, and I had to shout out to my parents because my parents got two women who are on their way. I've been able to hit it, but she will also be the second millionaire in the Owens family. And so she's
Mm.
also has an agency that she mentors as well. And so those two individuals that really resonate is someone who may not be a superstar at that moment because she's going through the moment. So super shout out to Jennifer, but I love those individuals. She's the underdog, but also my sister as well, who is a bartender who's earning 35,000 to now almost $1 million. And not because I don't want to say not because I necessarily put her on, because she has held her own as well. But those two individuals is very inspiring to me. One, because it's family, and two, this other young lady who is now my family. I mentor her, but I've watched her as a mom of five and a wife who did not have any type of income, is now doing fairly well for herself at this very moment.
Oh, wow. Whew, thank you so much for like sharing that. And it's like Jennifer and your baby sister, like deep down have like the willingness to win. But one of the things that like really resonates with me too is like, first of all, I know if she didn't have the will, your sister, to make a change, no matter what you say or did, it wouldn't happen. However, you know, if you're not willing to like spread the good news and, you know, work hard, like to maybe have to influence her, convince her that, hey, you are worthy. Like you can go do something totally different with your life. Like that's work. And like with any of your team members, right? Like you're putting in the work. So when you talk, like I want everybody to hear when she talks about, I went from just serving myself to wanting to impact and serve others. Like that's still work. It's not like serving others is sitting there writing checks. Like serving others is like having that tough conversation with somebody who's doubting themselves and like getting them to like take one step forward so they can begin to transform. And your parents must be so proud. And you look at her trajectory and like what her life could have looked like had you not said anything or been like a positive influence. So, you know, you're having a bad day, you don't ground yourself, you know, and you all of a sudden become frantic and selfish about, well, I'm just trying to survive. You miss this window. So like you're, you know, working on yourself well enough to be ready to serve others. And I think that's what our audience, like for those of you that want to serve at a higher level, impact at a higher level, like it still goes back to like taking care of yourself first, getting your spiritual, faith-based, physical, mental, all of that, right, aligned in a way that, number one, you are the walking billboard of like, you want to join my journey, but I meet you and you're a mess and you're anxious and you're living in fear and you're worshiping money. Like you're going to attract a certain type of person and you're going to transform them into you. So like, you know, that's a huge testament. I know you give her a lot of credit. I want to give you a lot of credit because I think the way that you've carried yourself and like what you built, you know, kind of laid the foundation and the groundwork to be able to do that for others. So I know I'm doing a lot of talking. I'm just really impressed and really grateful to hear that story. And one of the things I'd be really curious about too, and it doesn't have to be about one individual person, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're working with individuals, whether it be a family member or not, and they're going through a tough season, maybe they've even been with you for a year, you know, and it doesn't mean just because you've been there for a year, things are always going to be easy. Like when you guys are going through a slow season or self-doubts or somebody on the team or even a whole business unit is just facing like a lot of rejection, how do you tend to keep things positive and like tend to come in and make sure that like it doesn't get out of control and like derail everybody's mental state and just keep that in check, like for everybody involved, if that makes sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. And, you know, I have my flaws. I'm not a perfect person. However, I try to look at life on the positive side now. And just figuring out where people are at that moment. And again, it's something that I work on and try to work on daily as much as possible, but really digging deep on finding them to finding out that why, and keeping the main thing. Well, look, this is why we're doing this, right? This is why you say you want to do this. Is what happening right now, is it really worth you quitting or in this funk? Is it worth you doing that, or is this much more important? And then tell, sometimes people need some time. Some people got to step away. Hey, go take a day off, or go to get some music, go do something. Because
Mm.
because it's easy to have that cancer session, because we work in a virtual call center, to then bring that on to the team. So, keeping out, figuring out, like, understanding what is the real why. And
Mm.
95% of the problems that we have, not only 95, but 95% of those problems could be solved with a check. And so I know it sounds crazy, but it's not. The things that we stress out about,
Wow.
rent and mortgage, and oh, your wife is nagging at you. Well, you need to give her some hush money. Baby, take this money and hush. Let's pay somebody to do the laundry. Let's pay somebody to come to clean up one day. Let's hush, baby. Let me see you this money so let's go out on a vacation. It was just the two of us. Or, or hey, these things can be solved because it takes money. It takes money. It takes money for even peace. Of just a peace of mind. And so that 95% of that just be solved with a check. Hey, I know what you're going through right now. We struggling. We worrying about the rent right now. Well, you know
Mm.
what? Technically, I've been evicted before. You're not getting it. It's not happening. Okay. It can, it will, but you got 90 days to fix it. So let's go ahead and get a check this week so we can solve that problem. But
Yeah.
also don't involve me in your mess after it's a mess.
Mhm.
Involve me before it gets to that, right? Talk to me before we get to that. But as a leader, that we have to learn how to do is to see those things before it happen. And it's something we have to get better at, seeing those things. And that's things, again, that I'm working on, is that don't wait until they get into the mess. Don't wait till they cry for help. Don't wait till they quit, because they usually have already quit 30 days prior.
Mhm.
Look at these things, that you got to pay attention to these things as a leader, that because you're at the head and you're looking down at a below level, you should have been able to forecast that a long time ago. So that's something, again, that we as leaders have to work on. It's not just these practical things, but these other things that can prevent people from falling off the edge.
Very well said. I'm writing down too. Like, one thing I'm picking up from you, I'm learning a lot on this, is like being really honest with yourself as a leader, like honest about what you see and like not hiding from it, and seeing, like you said, forecasting. And I think a lot of leaders will hide from their business. They'll hide from their people. They'll see the signs. They'll see the person disengaging, and they won't step in to like catch it soon enough. And then things are just out of control. So the level of ownership, like Jocko Willink's like extreme ownership that like you're
Yeah.
talking about, is really like coming through in the way that you lead. So this has been incredible. And I want to do something with you here as we wrap up final 5 minutes of the show. I want to do a quick rapid fire. I got 4 questions for you, and it's a bit of a pop quiz, because what I'm looking for is like a 15-second response with almost no thought. So it's
Oh
just
gosh.
pure authenticity, just flow state. I won't do calculus. We won't do anything crazy today. No econometrics.
Thanks.
We'll keep it simple. Um,
I
no,
went
but
to school for
nothing
a
that you won't be able to
trimester.
answer. And then I want to absolutely give the contact information out and share it out with our audience. It's also in the live description on Facebook. It'll be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all of those. But are you ready for this rapid fire?
I was born ready. If you don't stay ready, you have to get ready.
Okay, I love that. All right, so here we go. First one daily habit that keeps you personally grounded.
My Bible verse every single morning.
Okay. One book, quote, or scripture that guides your leadership style.
Um, let's see. I always look at the end in mind. So if I could focus on the end in mind, everything else is just the process. So don't focus on the journey, focus on the destination. Everything else is just the process, just to get you through the mess. And so once you hit the destination, then you'll be so proud of the journey that you had to endure to get you there.
Beautiful. All right, next one. One piece of advice for a new agent trying to build their first team.
Make sure, ask yourself, would you fire you or would you hire you? So you're gonna probably have to do both, and probably at the do one and then the other. So ask yourself, would you fire you or hire you? And then would you bring someone in an opportunity that you do not feel comfortable bringing them in?
Amazing. Final question. How many people will you bring on your team in the next 12 months?
I'll be hiring 50 agents a month within the next 12 months. The goal, I'll be hiring 50. The goal is 100.
Love that. And that brings me to our final topic. I'm going to put up on the screen right now, for those of you watching, a couple of things. First of all, we have phase1opportunity.com/booking to be able to book time. Is that personally with you, Shenna?
That's person with me.
Okay, awesome. Also, you can text info, INFO, to 844-973-1184. That's text info to 844-973-1184. Or you can pull out your smartphone, hover over this QR code, and that'll take you directly to the booking page as well. So I'm going to leave this up here, but Shenna, I'd like to ask you in the last couple minutes here, is there anything else that you wanted to get out there today? Any other areas where you'd want people to connect with you, or just any message that you'd like to get out while we go into wrap up here?
Absolutely. So I would say that most things happen for a reason. And so when you were brought into the opportunity of insurance, it happened by design. And so because of that, make what you make out of it. I will say, don't quit. This is not an easy business, but life is not easy either. The storm does not always stay in the same position. And also the mailman has to also come to your house as well. So if you're in a neighborhood of people of winning, that check is still coming to you. And my last thing is affirmations. I'm very big about affirmation. I need each and every one of you to understand you're the head and not the tail, that you're above and not beneath, that you are the lender and not the borrower, that you are loved by God, you're protected by God, and you were actually chosen by God, that no weapon shall formed against you shall prosper, and every single tongue that rises above you in judgment shall be condemned, because you are a winner, you are loved. And he said that you can have anything and everything that you deserve and that you desire, because it's already yours. But you must practice these principles to get to the promise. And unfortunately, some of us don't want to get to the promise because we don't want to participate in the principles. Trouble does not last always, but in order for you to get to the breakthrough, you have to get broken down first to get to that next level.
Wow. Oh, well, hey, I would give you a hug if we weren't virtually halfway across the country. This has been super powerful, and it's just been awesome to have you on. Everything from the way that you carry yourself to your story, your faith, your understanding of leadership, and the way that you help transform other people's lives is incredible, and hopeful that the right people will find this and they'll align with you, and just super grateful for your time, Shenna. So for our audience at home, whether you're watching the rerun, you're on live, please reach out to Shenna. Obviously, she's going to be somebody incredible for you to network and connect with. Whether you're in a transition phase and you felt like, hey, this is the right time for me to reach out and maybe talk about what it looks like to be part of her team, or whether it's a business partnership or just networking and brushing shoulders with somebody amazing like Shenna. So Shenna, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. I'm looking forward to any future collaboration that we can put together. Absolutely. And I hope you continue to have an incredible day, and thank you for all your time.
Thank you so much, Andy. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week for another episode of Ask the Experts, where we come to you live every week with heavily influential movers and shakers out there making big things happen so that you guys can join their movement and also just transform the way that you operate. So thank you, everybody, for your time, and we'll see you next week.